We are live on Instagram.
And Facebook and YouTube.
Nice. Hello, hello.
Welcome.
Welcome in.
Oh,
I'm
let's
going.
hope this time difference mishap thing hasn't confused too many people.
Yes. Is there a way that you can? Because it still says today at 3.
No, but
But
the
it's
thing
just
is, once it goes live, they'll get the notification that it's live, so it doesn't really matter what it said before.
yes.
Unless in the last 15
Is there
minutes
a
people
way you
change
can?
their plans. There we are. Here we go. Here we go. Hello, hello, welcome, welcome, wherever you're galloping in from the world. This is African Unicorns. Please tell us where you're tuning in from
I'm
and
going to
what do
take.
you want to rant about today?
I'm going to take a minute to share the video.
Hey, the dyslexia is real. I just wrote filane instead of finale.
Yeah, I don't know what you're doing over there. There it is. Okay.
Oh my God, really, really. I can't type today. Unicorns. Tuning in.
Welcome, everybody. Let us know where you're tuning in from. We are live.
Take a moment to share this video, tag a friend, tell a friend to tell a friend.
Yes.
We're here, tuning in from Turtle Island. I am not with Ines today.
I am in Maryland on the East Coast side. A little bit boring compared to where Dimah's at.
I am in San Diego and it is 9 in the morning here. So this is love. It is love that I am here and I might need to get up for more coffee.
We appreciate you, Dimah.
It's all love. I wouldn't miss this for the world, Ines. I would not miss this. All
Thank
right,
you.
fam, tuning in. Tell us where you're tuning in from. Are you ready for season 2 finale? If you
Yes.
haven't noticed by now, I think we'll let you in on a little secret. Our Ranting Rainbows edition is when we've had too much unicorn business to take care of. And there was
And we can
simply,
rant about it.
and we're going to rant about it. Yes,
Yes.
yes. So what are we ranting about today, Ines?
Well, first, as an intro, I want you to tell us what you're doing in San Diego because I think it's really awesome and I think everyone needs to hear about it. So tell us, what is your magical self doing in San Diego?
Afrofuturism Lounge. It is AfroCon 2021. EdFu Foundation is a sponsor, and I'm on the board of EdFu Foundation. Here is a plug. Check out edfufoundation.org. Check out the page. But Inas, let me tell you, they have the space in the YMCA here. I don't even know what region or district in San Diego it is, but it's all about Black futurism and calling in our future and what that looks like. And I'm gonna try and get the flyer, but basically, there's a competition to dress in as your favorite superhero or create your super persona. And of course, Bill was present like crazy because you're seeing all these characters, and it's amazing. It's amazing, especially the little kids. There was this little queen coming through in her hot pink tutu and fairy wand and fairy wings, and she's just completely magical character. It's like I need my unicorn horn here.
Yeah. I'm mad that you didn't have your unicorn swag, which is
I know, but
plug
no,
story.
but this is something we're taking into our break, and this is something we're going to discuss. I think we definitely need unicorn horns and unicorn swag in general, unicorn merch, because yeah, it's like all these, and they had vendors and booths and all of that, and it's really amazing stuff. Some amazing art,
It's all about
handmade
Afrofuturism.
creams. It obviously all black owned, black business, black culture. It was so beautiful. It still is. We have day two tomorrow as well. Day two today and then tomorrow. But I leave tonight, so. But yeah, it was so great just seeing the inspiration in kids' eyes. I got to speak with one of, you know me, obviously. I didn't have my unicorn horn, but I came through
It was
in all
present.
the colors. And I was talking to this little girl, and she was asking, she was asking where I was from. So I was telling, what do you know about Nubia? And then I told her, long time ago, it was a land, and it has so many black queens. She's like, really? I was like, yes, yes. She's like, and you're from there? And I was like, yes, so are you. I don't know where you're actually from, but we're from that same place that
That's
had many
amazing.
black queens, just like you. And it was so affirming. We so need more of that.
That's
We
an
so
amazing way
connect.
to reclaim space.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then
That's so cool.
I
And I
had
feel like
a little headpiece with that I co-opted from my mother, and I asked her if she would like to have it on her head for a little bit. Her eyes lit up in us. She's like, yes.
that's awesome. Yo, that's some great stuff that's happening there. Are you presenting on any of the panels?
We did yesterday, and by we I mean Edfu, Edfu's podcast Afronuts did, and it was a great conversation. You can find that live on Edfu Foundation's Instagram. But it was basically the dialogue of, first of all, how do we encourage and engage more youth to read comics, but also how to create comics, how to tap into that creative power so that they can really imagine being all they possibly can, all they want to be. But also, how
Yeah.
can we use comics as a way to reclaim history, to tell our stories in a way that is both engaging and creative and inspirational to the kids and
Um,
adults? You know what? Let's be honest. The adults could use some tapping into the creativity as well. I think we all could use a little bit of magic.
Indeed. That was pretty much, well, plugged to our season one. That's what it was kind of like going back to see. So we did 2 episodes about, one back in February about what does an African superhero look like. And the second one right after that was superheroes, where we talked about like representation matters. And, we had this amazing discussion about Afrofuturism and in the comic world, just how it's booming, especially in Africa now. And all these like Africons are happening, all these conferences all over Africa. And
Yes,
it's,
we're gonna give a shout out to Bill Masuko
yes.
right now.
And that's how we met Bill back. Well, that's how I met Bill back in February 2021, because he came on and we talked about uh, a lot of his creations, the Black superheroes. And the amazing thing was that not that these superheroes just look Black or African or just in terms of just the actual physical representation, but also their stories are rooted into our culture from all over Africa, and the narrative itself, which was amazing to see. So let's keep amplifying that because it's a great work. Shout out to Bill.
Mejdi, good morning. Yes, good afternoon.
Hello,
on
Miss
your
Dimah.
end.
So, Dimah, this is the season finale. This is episode number 8 for the season. How are you feeling about that?
That's a very, very loaded question at 9 in the morning, So I don't know. I don't know how I feel about you putting me on the spot like that.
Okay, fine. I'll take it while
Thank
you
you.
gather your thoughts or your feelings about it. It feels great. I can't believe that we're already here. I was just talking this morning about how it's already September and pretty much like wrapping up 2021 and into 2022, like already in some ways. So it's kind of mind-boggling on a whole lot of different levels. But we're coming up on our year anniversary. We started this podcast in November 22nd, 2020. And the one thing that I would say that I have admired about us is the consistency. Consistency is key to making anything be successful. Um, and I think honestly, that's one thing that carried through, whether we doubted we had enough content or whether we weren't really sure about the direction where to take the show. And also letting go of the narrative or the attachments that we had to what the show was going to be about initially, and just going with the flow, really, because I think that was really, really important. We had our own ideas of what the show was going to be and how we wanted it structured, how we wanted it to be set up. And it was an amazing journey, as much as like, you know, frustrations aside of getting everything pulled together and producing a show and hosting it and the marketing and all of that. But season 1 was an amazing journey, in the sense that we got to grow, we got to figure out a style in which we can collaborate together and flow together, because we all individually, we have our own style of just making things work. And I think it was a lot of the times you underestimate that you need a little bit of room to actually get accustomed or acquainted with the other person's style of doing things. And I think that was a great dynamic, that whole journey of season 1 and trying to figure that out. But yeah, so I guess I'm proud of where that went and all the lessons that we've learned and got to unpack throughout that whole season. So it's kind of, I'm excited about where we're ending now, as we're also looking ahead into what the next season is going to is going to bring and hold, and all the different new things and the different direction that we're going to take the show, and a lot of new exciting things that are going to be happening. So thank you for also being part of it. And also thank you for I feel like we have a family now of a consistent group that tunes in.
Yes.
So it's actually very exciting to come on every other Sunday and speak to our Sunday family now. So thank you all for also being consistent audience, and for also giving us a chance into, and because you don't know what these two girls are going to get on and talk about, this unicorn and sprinkles and bringing magic, and everybody's just kind of like strapped in for the ride. And
Seriously, no, like seriously, I really want to put this out. Okay, so for those tuning in, if you've followed more than 2 or 3 episodes, like if you would put like 1 or 3 words to describe what African unicorns is, what would you put in? Because we can't really put it in one thing or package it in one way, and that's something I really, really appreciated, because I think it really it reflects quite truthfully the circus that we come in with, the magnitude of the magic. But I really appreciate what you said about consistency, because in so many ways, I think that was one of the things that I personally worried about. And I think both of us on some level have, like, okay, we're going to start this, but like, is this something we're going to finish? How is this thing going to look like? What would this mean? What if not everyone is showing up? What if we don't get people tuning in? And being able to say, you know what, we're going to be doing this. We're going to navigate this and find ways to still show up, in our true authentic selves within whatever situation we find ourselves in, with whatever is coming up for us. It may have started one way, and that way may no longer be the direction that we necessarily want to go in. That doesn't necessarily mean we're just going to keep going, even if it's not the way we want to go. We had no problem just like pumping the brakes, saying, okay, let's take a moment to reassess here and redirect. And if I'm looking and just going back and thinking about what season 1 was about, the themes that we got into in season 1, and the kinds of discussions we've had in season 2, they almost look like two very separate shows. But I'm not going to hesitate in saying I am proud. I am proud of us. I am proud of how we've grown through this conversation, and how our fam of unicorns have been pouring into the questions that we're asking ourselves, and really being open to the questions we're asking them. Right. Like I found myself going back to our shows a lot more this season than I did last season. I can't say I've seen or reviewed all our episodes from season 1. I think I've seen most of them from season 2. I think it has a lot to do with the kind of engagement we got from our fam. Also, we must not forget, because I'm seeing Sandy hop on here, that we now have an official mascot that is Nubaneg.
We have an official
mascot to Myron, who has relentlessly showed up with his magic, and Mejdi, all the way from across the Atlantic. Well, not the Atlantic. Yeah, it is the Atlantic. Across the pond. And Alexis from Puerto Rico. There's just so much love, and we're so very grateful. And excited to what comes next, which takes us to our next point, Inas.
Yes.
What are we doing next? Do we even know what we're doing next?
I'm not sure, but it's going to be magical. That's all I know. It's going to be magical, and it's going to be big, and it's going to be maybe in your face a little bit more. So if there's too much in your face, there's more coming. But no, I'm very excited for it, in terms of just taking a little bit of a break. Well, I guess that is the announcement. Are we ready to let that out yet? And taking September off.
Yes.
This is the finale. We're wrapping up, but we also need the time to regroup, reassess, figure out this new direction for season 3. We're really excited about it. It's going to be new content. We're already lining up a whole bunch of guest speakers that we want to have featured. And it's all related to kind of the topics that we've been discussing in season 2. It's just like expanding a little bit more on it. Maybe looking at it from a different perspective, now jumping into like the doing aspect of things as we, get more comfortable within ourselves. And now we're ready to launch on and do whatever the next thing is, the new passion project, the new job, the new whatever we start in doing. How do we go about maintaining that path so that we're also thriving in the new and in the doing, and we're no longer just talking about getting started. We're now already on our way in that path, and talking about what that looks like and unpacking that also. So it's going to be a whole bunch of topics maybe related to that. Merch.
We're trying to be cryptic a little bit because, in all honesty, we don't actually know what of these will materialize. I mean, we can wish, we can hope, we can put it out there. Whether or not it materializes is a different story. So, in like, to keep that in mind and not be too attached to how this next season will come out, because that's something we've definitely learned and reflected on. Like, but this isn't what this is about. But at the end of the day, with all the love to the fam, this was about Inas and I. And we have to be honest about that.
Is it selfish to just go on and start a complete new show just because?
You know what? I am reclaiming selfish. I am reclaiming selfish, and I think I want an episode on that next season.
Yes.
Because I think selfish has been put in a box that is not really fair. And selfish doesn't have a space to really express its truth. There needs to be a conversation about the balance between selfish and selfless, because I feel like it's not just a misunderstanding. It's almost like a sentencing of that word. It's kind of like crows. Crows are such misunderstood beings. And it's not fair. And that's how I feel about the word selfish. I feel like selfish has been taken out of context. And
what's ringing for me is also being nice. That is also maybe a good tie-in to that conversation. Because you can be both. You can be nice and selfish at the same time. They're not in conflict.
Yes, it's kind of like, being grateful and still knowing there's still more to be done, and that they're not mutually exclusively. Back to the ranting rainbows, right? You can be ranting, but like still grateful for the rainbow and grateful for all the magic that comes with it. But like, there's still plenty to rant about. It's just how we balance that. And I feel like with selfless and selfish, and that's another thing. We really need to claim that, we're taking time off. It is work putting this out. It is work trying to contextualize everything that we're seeing and experiencing every 2 weeks, because a lot is happening in a span of 2 weeks. To be able to take that and make it something digestible in a framework of a conversation, that's not easy work. So we need to take some time to just like stop galloping around and just like stretch in the sun.
That's true. No, I'm with it. I'm curious to see what people described in the comments, though.
Okay.
Because I'm also curious to ask if people have any ideas on what they would like to see more in the show, like what direction or what topics or what ideas they'd like us to explore for season 3.
Well, we have Majdi here coming through saying he rates this season 10 out of 10. Thank you, Majdi. And then we have Adam Patermo, happy to hear from us. Myron saying a fresh perspective from voices often ignored. I don't know how I feel about the ignored thing, Myron. I'm not going to lie. I think we're going to have a discussion about that.
He brought it onto himself.
Sandra says Sundays wouldn't be the same without you. It's like a place to put you into real self-reflection.
We really appreciate that. You know what's insane is that sometimes you kind of look back as like you're busy doing that. Sometimes you don't look up and realize that what you're doing actually does have value. And, hearing that a lot of the times from people commenting on the show or like takeaways, or it got them to reflect on something in a different way, or get it, view things from a different perspective. And I'm so grateful for that, because I was like, that's the whole point of it. I'm like, I feel in some way that something is working. no matter how long it takes to kind of like refine, reshape, reassess as putting this thing together as a show. But the essence of it, nonetheless, was just that, to have these conversations in an open enough platform or space so that it reaches more people, and it's not just exclusive to our immediate circles or our friends.
Yeah.
And as you were saying earlier, I was listening to you kind of listing off people, and I'm like, oh wow, that's amazing. We got people from Puerto Rico, we got people from all over that, that are tuning in. Mejdi, like Switzerland, like it's just insane. And it's amazing.
Yes. The friendly
Listen,
and can we take a moment to just acknowledge Meshdi's friendly think tank comments? Yes, thank you. I have Muhammad saying, "What's the topic today about?" We're reflecting. This is our season 2 finale, Muhammad. So we're looking at how we went about it, some differences and some similarities and areas of growth that we've recognized from season 1, and the love we've been receiving from everyone, and also how you've provoked some thoughts about what direction we're taking with this. And Ines, I want to go back to what you were saying about how we're just doing, and then all of a sudden we look up and we have people asking, okay, what's the next topic? Or can you talk about this? Or, can you touch on that? Is there a way you can incorporate this topic? And what's really coming up for me, like really loudly, and you and I have talked about this, just don't worry about how people will receive what you're doing. Just do. Just do, just do, just do. I'm just doing. I'm going to do whatever I can do at this particular moment. I'm just going to do it. And a big part of it is like us kind of deconditioning ourselves from, I don't want to say attachment to what and how society is going to view what you're doing or how people are going to receive what you're doing, but really liberating ourselves from that particular chain or that particular expectation or box that people will put us in. And that moment that you take to look up and just see people like, hey, what's next? What's going on? And then you're like, oh, wait, hang on. A lot more people are sharing these videos. And then the comments that people have to the videos, like, the quotes to the videos as they share them, it's like, wow, okay, this is nice. And what the lesson I'm taking from this is, fine, keep doing, just do, but look up more often, because more often than you realize, people are keeping an eye and someone is drawing something out of what you're putting out. And knowing that impact, at least for me, I don't know about you, Ines, it was such a fuel, it was such a flame, it was such a drive. And it's also more comfortable to come up and say, okay, we don't actually have a script. We didn't have time to meet twice to organize how we're going to frame some of the quotes or address some of the questions that some of the unicorn family have asked us to. But we still feel comfortable to say, we're going to come up and we're going to say what we say, and it's going to ring true to someone, because it's ringing true to us and we're all connected. But how have you felt the feedback and the looking up part?
it was, I guess, similar to what you were saying. It was, in a weird way, it held me accountable. It was an accountability piece. Like you're mentioning that people will DM and like suggest topics, or they're like, we really enjoyed this conversation. Can you look at it from this side? Or here's a scenario. Can you talk about breaking this down? And I tried to step away from looking at it as an overwhelming thing, because there's so much to manage. And like you said, we already have our ideas about where we want to take the show, or different, um, like a particular direction. And sometimes it's also in the flowing of doing. It was a great reminder to also not be so attached to a particular narrative or a particular way of doing things, because if anything this pandemic has taught any of us, is that there is no constant, there is no, everything is consistently changing, and the narrative is going to be consistently changing. And be comfortable being uncomfortable is really the essence of this whole pandemic time for me. And as people were commenting and receiving everyone's just, and it was all in good spirit, it was all, people's suggestions and cheering on, and trying to look at that as not an overwhelming thing. Because a lot of the times it's like when people give you feedback, and even though it's it's meant in a really good way, or in a good intention and investment in seeing you doing better, sometimes it can be just like, one more thing that I got to do. Or one thing that I got to shift my perspective into taking. But in essence, it just got me more comfortable in looking at, like, oh, well, this topic was great. How else can we flesh it out? And it became as, it was kind of like stitching together a quilt with so many different people. And I can't say season 2 was, as much as it was like with just the conversations with me and you, but I can't wholeheartedly say that it was just like our doing. A lot of it just came from borrowing different perspectives, from taking in the new, looking at it closely, refining it, tossing some things out, and then like going back again to the drawing board and coming up with something. So it was a collaborative effort. That came from no particular person or no particular direction, and just kind of in the flowing of that, it really helped me kind of, look at work differently, looking at, pivoting also differently, and not be so anxious about hearing feedback, and just kind of incorporating that and going as you're doing, that it almost seemed seamless. Like sometimes we got on and we had an idea of what we were going to be talking about, and it just kind of flowed. And sometimes we got on and we didn't have really an idea. But in kind of hearing people's feedback and comments in the background, it kind of just all came together.
I think
So
our
yeah,
last episode was a little bit of that.
yeah,
Our last episode was definitely a Ranting Rainbow extravaganza, because we really just like, we're really going up there and just unicorning it, because like that's where we're at. But first of all, the views that video got, and again, it's not about the stats as much as it's the engagement and how much people felt like, okay, there's something here that we can sit and listen and share. Um, and just going back to how season 2 was really not just our doing, I want to give a shout out to everyone. But one particular episode was a shout out to Shonda, in one of her comments. Oh, we should say, we take a little bit of your comments and put them on a separate document, the things that resonate with us, and see how we can develop those. And one of them was Shonda's comment about telling people and just putting the message and the energy out there for people. It's like, allow yourself to reimagine me, because whatever image you have in of me in your head, that's not me. So I give you permission to reimagine that, because I've reimagined that and I have a new me coming through here. And you can either take that in, take that on, accept, embrace it, or, throw a tantrum. That's not going to change how I reimagine me. And that, I think that was one of my favorite episodes this season, to just to develop, to look at, and really just sit with, like, what does a reimagined us look like? And I think that's also where we had to hold ourselves accountable and realize that we've just been talking about what's stopping us from starting, and that we actually haven't spoken about starting. I'll take a moment here and bring in some of the comments because
Well,
Frank,
I'm gonna plug before you jump into that. That
another
was
plug.
well, the same plug because that was Shonda's quote from episode 5, Puzzled, that we did on July 25th. And she specifically said, "Write what you have imagined of me." So this is how much we pay attention also to everyone's comments. Rewrite what you have imagined of me, and that would, yeah, I definitely echo that. What you said, Dimah, that was definitely a great stopping moment to reflect on that. Okay,
Shonda Henderson. I hope I'm getting her last name correctly. Henderson? Shonda, if you're watching, I'm sorry if I'm butchering the last name. Know that your energy is just being present here, and we're grateful to your input. Myron was saying, back to what I was saying about ignored voices. He said not by individuals per se, but societal structure, by the societal structure in place, that our voices are hard to find and filtered out too often. We hear you, Myron. Thank you for that support. Frank says, I love, and it's funny because he said that, and I hadn't put it out because you were speaking about something, but then you were talking about the different, how some of the thoughts and some of the topics we're talking about definitely hold space for us to go deeper in. And he's just to say that, we are connected. Look, I love the diversity of the topics. I think that they may be space to delve deeper into the popular topics, especially when you have lots of guest speakers. And that's something we're really excited about for next season. And also not just that it's people we want to bring in, but that people are actually saying, hey, we want to come on your show. We want to come and share with the African unicorns. And it's just like, we take a moment to just like hyperventilate in a paper bag.
Let me have my 30 seconds freak out. And then I'll come back and talk to you.
And then we'll come back collected. But Ines, we have a request here.
My master class is gonna be me holding a scarf, and 2 seconds later, it's wrapped up in some way. Because there's never really a process. It just happens. But yes, that might be a good one. We'll see. Yeah, that was a really powerful quote.
Yes.
That was a gem for sure. What are you looking forward to in season 3? Or the most? The most you're looking forward to?
Obviously, the most is bringing more unicorns and sharing with, with this fam, with all the unicorns that will come across these videos. And here's another plug. If you haven't shared this video yet, hit the share button, tag some people who you think would like to hear this or have been talking about these topics, or simply have something to add to this space. If you think they're a unicorn that we'll have a great time chatting with and learning from, please tag them. But yeah, that's what I'm really looking forward to, because I don't think that was something we had thought of. Like when we launched African Unicorns almost a year ago, and also I can't believe that it's almost a year. That's wild. But yes, we said maybe we'll bring on someone here and there, but really the conversations we've had, whether it's with Bill coming on or Mr. Sharif joining us or Frankie Frank coming through, plugging in from Kenya. Also, drop some flags on the comment space. Where is everyone tuning in from? Because we'd like to map that out. And Muhammad Rashid is saying he likes topics in history, so we have something to dig deep. And yes, but these conversations bring in so many different perspectives. And the most important thing for me, or the most fulfilling part of that for me, is really seeing how we're all connected. Seeing that stuff we're experiencing or thinking about or have gone through or struggled with or have been challenged by are only different variations of what each of us is going through. Even though we're in completely different journeys and completely different places around the world doing completely different things with our lives, we've studied different things and all of that, but there's still a thread that's connecting us all, and finding that thread and holding on to that thread and weaving our stories, our narratives, our magic together into this like wonderful alchemy. I'm looking forward to more of that, especially some of the guests that we're not going to put out just yet and share just yet. But a lot
I'm
of
not
excitement.
full disclosure. This season, we did get some requests from people to come on the show, and we did explore having guest speakers coming into our space. But I think whenever we had that discussion, I was the person to say no. I said no consistently to that, because it was really more so this season in my mind was about us two fleshing out really our flow, how things are going to go, figuring out these topics just kind of on our own in terms of like what we want to put on to the world, and sitting back and reflecting on like what painting did we just paint. And I think like looking back at certain things, there were definitely consistent principles or themes that came up that, like working with what we have is pretty much our life model. Put us anywhere, we'll make that work somehow. And I think that's honestly a very valuable skill, because again, back to change is the only constant thing and the only thing that's going to be consistent. And so not being married to a particular narrative or story and finding comfort within that was definitely one thing that echoed throughout that journey. And finding the magic within that also, it can be overwhelming, but it's also being grateful and reflecting on just what good came out of it. And sometimes it was just like a lot of unexpected things. The unexpected connection to a wide variety of people that are coming from different industries, from different backgrounds, from different parts of the world, was something that I definitely underestimated the impact of it. And back to like your comment about not realizing sometimes the impact or the role that you have on somebody, on just in you being you in whatever space. You never know, like, sometimes, like, how many times that, have you had a moment where someone came up to you and was like, that conversation that I had with you at this point was so enlightening. And you're just like, oh, I don't even remember that particular instance. Like, did we have a conversation? Like, I wasn't sure.
What do you mean? Was I there?
I don't know. But it's like, realizing that, like, no matter what, it's like moving responsibly in the world is kind of a civic duty that everyone has, that, don't necessarily stop and think about it. Sometimes your impact implicitly or explicitly is so enormous. So it's, like I said, like just kind of the essence, and it just kind of going back to the point of the show, is that the essence of sharing these conversations and having it from different perspectives, engaging also with different people. And I know that we got a lot of comments about just us focusing, broadcasting this show on a social media platform, because we had other options. We can make it a YouTube only type of show. We can have our own podcast hosts elsewhere and just have it as an audio. But I've, you know, and I've also had to kind of like gauge my comfort level with all of these different directions. But I grew to appreciate this platform the way that we're doing it a whole lot more than I did in the beginning, because of the engagement factor. And I was like, well, if the whole point is to have a show where it's you're having conversations with people and exploring different perspectives, it only makes sense that it has the live engagement aspect. We can always have, you know, we explored having engagement post show where people can still comment on like a pre-recorded show, for example. So it was great to have to get to also experience that and grow through that. And that will kind of help in how we take on the show in the future. So that was a nice experience also.
I want to go to your point about you being the one to kind of pump the brakes and say, let's not bring people on just yet. And the importance of that and how that got absorbed into other spaces of my life. And I then used it as a lesson to share with others, in that we can get really excited about how quickly to grow, or the potential for growth, or for coming together, or hey, this sounds exciting. A lot of us, yes, more, bring, come, let's go. But if we're not just comfortable in our space, but if we're not grounded, if we're not centered, if we're not clear on what we're doing, it gets very easy to just get yanked out of the path we thought or we're drawing out. And in the conversations we've had in, okay, is this the right time to bring someone on? Well, why don't we wait and see how this episode goes, and then let's reflect more. And the more questions or the more engagement we've had from you, as you know, our extended fam all over the world, we're seeing the flags starting to drop in the comment space here. We realize, no, there's still more in us to tease out before we can invite more people. Because I mean, you saw what happened with Bill, and if you haven't seen what happened with Bill, go back to these episodes and find out what happened with Bill, because there's a lot to tease out from these conversations. There's a lot to bring out from these conversations. There's a lot to draw and connect these dots. And if we don't know what's going on inside here and the direction we want to go, it gets very easy to get bogged down, like with what Inas is saying. Oh, why don't you consider doing this? Well, Facebook is dead and no one's really looking at it. There's only a certain age bracket on Facebook. Unicorns come in all ages. And yes, this engagement was massive, but that lesson of be comfortable in who you are, be comfortable in where you are, be comfortable in what you're doing. So when someone else steps into that space with something else that, you know, may potentially be more excitable or, you know, tempting, or know that, are you ready to make that leap? Or do you still need to be more grounded in what you're doing? Because there's a chance that if you go or delve into that direction, you might actually get completely off course. And at some point, that's what we were risking. And that's why we realized, no, we need to go back to why we started this. What was the starting point for us? Why are we doing this? And that's when we kept going back, like, and that's always been about you and I. let's just focus here and see what that looks like.
Yeah.
And take it from there. We do have some comments, and I want to be mindful of time here. Mejdi, this is so sweet. In my case, 2020 was like an emotional roller coaster of doom as far as business is concerned, because I had to go all in to save my assets, and it was the little things here and there. Looking forward to the next episode of Unicorns helped weathering the storm. I love you girls seriously, and you are my friends.
This is so heartwarming because it was literally back to that was my point is that I never would have imagined that this would be like a space where I would create new connections. Um, and it's amazing. I mean, everything also being virtual and content being, accessible everywhere now, especially post pandemic, um, has redefined so many things. And one of them is connections and relationships. And yeah, this is amazing.
Puerto Rico.
Puerto Rico in the house. We have
Ooh,
Kenya.
Kenya. Do you want to read that, Ines?
Yes, I would love from Frank Amika. I would love to hear what unicorns want help with in achieving their ambitions, visions as a way to reach out to others that watch that may have the talent. Okay, so more of like connections. This is making me think about Africa Week also, because like all of these spaces are pretty much like you
Oh
can
my God,
find.
Ines, get out of my head.
Yes.
Just as you were talking about the different connections, you know, with post-COVID breakout and all this madness, is one thing I am currently doing where I am physically here in San Diego is I'm actually meeting people that I met through Africa Week 2020. And it's the first time we are meeting in real life and you know, sharing the same physical space. And it's so crazy. It's so not like, shout out to Terrence, who joined a night conversation in the first Africa Week 2020 family reunion in May 2020, like our inaugural one. And after that, ended up joining the board of Edfu Foundation. And it's been a full year now where it's all virtual. We've never actually met until yesterday when he landed here in San Diego to join AfriCon. It's crazy. It's so nuts. But it's amazing to know that the energy has come through and we've made these connections and fostered and nurtured and cultivated such a space to meet family and really feel, okay, this is fam. It's been amazing and I'm so grateful.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Torre del Viejo. Yes, thank you. Africa Week inspired and inspirations equals change.
Because Africa Week was pretty much also a virtual space where that connected pretty much all great things that are coming out of Africa, despite, you know, there's no discrimination in terms of like industries, work product, people, what people are up to, what they're doing in any part of Africa. And it just highlighted all these great, amazing initiatives and projects that are people engaged in throughout Africa and coming to a virtual space to talk about these topics. And then also throughout that, connecting all these different people that are probably working on more or less similar ideas and similar content um, across Africa. And now there's a space that virtually comes in and makes these connections for people. So that is inspirational for sure.
Yeah, so true. And also, well, when we say Africa, we mean Africa as the great mother and the and her children in the diaspora. And that for me that was a part that was honestly I don't think I fully digested it just yet, even though it's been over a year. Um, because it really just started as me feeling so helpless and desperate that I can't go back to the village as I had planned. Because I had left the village to come for two events in the US, and then COVID hit and airports shut down and borders, I don't know what. And it's like, So one, I can't go back to the village. Two, I won't be able to plan that festival that I wanted to plan with the kids in the village. And I was really looking forward to celebrating us. And I was like, okay, or maybe I can do something virtual. And be like, well, if we can do something virtual for one village, why can't we do it with the whole village, like a whole family? I remember seeing the number of the insights on that Facebook page the end of that week, and just like calling Ines and be like, I don't know what to do with this, but there is a hunger and a thirst and a need for us to connect with each other, and I'm realizing more and more and more that the way our brains are wired is that we don't just take information. And my brother Justin from A Growing Culture said something when we were preparing for one of the workshops, is that we have to remember that information is not a story. And our minds are wired for stories. We want to hear stories because that's how we connect and how we relate them to who we are. And the stories that have been coming out of our people in any of these platforms, whether it's Africa Week 2020 or For Black Power, which is, where we launched as the African Unicorns, all these spaces really connecting our stories and giving us the space to come and share our stories however way we see fit, to share our stories the way we see our stories, the way we've lived our stories, the way we've experienced them, and not how others tell the stories on our behalf, has been so inspirational and just such a massive blessing. And I want to take a moment to say thank you to all of you tuning in and all of you who are not tuning in and still doing all this magic everywhere, because it reaches us whether we know you or not, whether we've met you or not. It is reaching and it is inspiring, and I'm so grateful.
Yes, indeed. And with us also being grateful, we want to be mindful of people's times as we're coming up on an hour. Thank you, Myron.
Thank you, Myron. Woo!
Yeah, we'll take a moment. That's when you need the commercial break. So you can catch your breath for a sec. But yeah, so what's happening next? So this is gonna be our season 2 finale. We're not going anywhere just yet. We're only gonna come back better with bigger things, more magical things. It's gonna be
more sparkly.
Sparkles, glitter, magic, unicorning.
Yes. You might need glasses for season 3 because there's going to be too much light. Not that there's any such thing as too much light, but there will be sparkles.
Yeah. So we're gonna, and because of that, obviously we need to plan for that big reveal for season 3. So we're gonna take the rest of September off so we can plan for the next season, gather our energies, refresh, reset, plan better, and come back in October, sometime in October, with more material, with a revamped African Unicorns. So stay tuned during that time. Follow us if you haven't yet. It's the same handle at African Unicorns with a K on Instagram, on Facebook. Obviously, we have our YouTube channel too. So we're going to be updating you all on the progress during our break for maybe sneak peeks, maybe bonuses. You never know. So you just have to follow us, stay tuned. We're going to be dropping some content there throughout. So we're still going to be engaged. So please keep us in your follow list. And we're going to be back in October. I'm excited. It's going to be a great show, Dimah. I'm looking forward to it.
Me too, me too.
Bring in the magic.
Yes. Look at that, Ines. 59 minutes.
Yes.
We are wrapping up on the hour. Thank you for tuning in. So much love. Stay magical.
Much love. We'll be back in October. Please, please follow. Tell your friends. Tell us about how great we are. Share our videos. Share our videos, you know. And yeah, let's expand
Tell
this
us your
family.
favorite episode, maybe. Go back for a rewatch.
Yes.
All right.
All right, Dimah.